Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuned to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit.
And myself, Ariana.
Oh, yes. We got half an hour to go. We got the Illusion of Choice coming up a little bit later on, so if you want to email in for that, that's themurloc@gmail.com. And please, do tell us why on earth do you participate in these silly events. Let us know.
Are you an achievement whore like me?
It's entirely possible. Now, PvE and PvP, they go together like oil slick and innocent birds.
Those actually come into contact with each other a lot more than you would think, and it's a very disastrous
And the results
thing.
are always messy. Exactly. It's a really good analogy.
It's like an advert for global cleanup in Alaska.
It's an inconvenient truth. This is what happens when the ice stone melts.
Oh, no.
Had to get it in there somewhere. An hour and a bit into the show. There we go. Yes.
See, this is the reason Tiggle left. For mistakes like the ice stone.
Tiggle left because the ice stone melted? Did he drown?
Maybe.
Is Tiggle a penguin? Did he lose his natural habitat?
It's global warming.
Global warming.
Yes.
So that means we need a global cooldown.
Oh, no.
I need to drop in for this. There must be something. Seriously. Do I not have anything? Really?
Nothing for
There! Yeah!
Yay. Global cooldown.
Global cooldown.
Northrend is melting, and all you want is applause.
I'll be here all week, try the veal. Northrend can melt as far as... I don't care. The entire thing can sink into the sea. There's nothing good there anyway.
It looks like Disney drew it.
What, Northrend?
Yeah, it does.
In what respect?
In the respect that once you go out towards, like, Borean tundra, it all looks like a bunch of Disney pish-posh.
Are you basically telling me that Northrend is Happy Feet?
Yes, yes it is. And every single time that Morgan Freeman stops talking, the world ends.
I see.
It's true.
They're telling me to die because apparently it was a really bad joke. I think it was an awesome joke. I'm sorry, that's almost as good as the phrase that I coined that I'll actually reveal to you today, and that is scrubstitute.
Oh, yeah.
That is good. This is a word that you could start using now. I want you to go and propagate this particular word. I've coined it, and it is scrubstitute, which basically means that you've got an unideal person to replace the person
No. That is my definition. That was the definition that I made.
Yeah. Explain your definition.
Okay, basically, if you have, like, one of your top-tier players and they're unable to make it to raid, then you can kind of look around in your guild to see who's online and available, and if the only person that's available is some, know-nothing scrub, basically, who, just happens to be adequate level and, well, he'll do, then he's a scrubstitute.
Indeed. What was my definition?
I think yours was about items or something. Scrubstitute, like...
Oh, yes, scrubstitute items. Basically, if you have to fill in item slots with, like, epic items, like, I don't know, the Hateful Gladiators.
And welfare epics?
Welfare epics, yeah. You basically, you're scrubstituting a slot.
I like my definition better.
I think they both work. I think they're both good. So, yeah, scrubstitute.
I think mine's better. You should email themurloc@gmail.com if you think my definition's better.
And you should email themurloc@gmail.com if you think my definition is better.
And, of course, please indicate which one.
Yeah, write Ariana or write Total Biscuit on your emails. And we'll reveal the results at the end of the show.
Yay!
Okay. Right. Now we've wasted a good couple of minutes of time, let's talk about PvE and PvP colliding. In the recent patch, there were a number of changes to class balance. The two classes that were hit the hardest were the two classes that I play.
Rogues and mages.
Yeah. Thanks, Blizz.
Oh, come on.
I don't really mind so much, to be honest, because they were mostly nerfing PvP stuff. They nerfed Mutilate, for instance, which I don't really care about because, well, I can't use Mutilate because my rogue's in a classic guild. And I use maces. Yeah, I spam Sinister Strike and Rupture, because I am a Rupture mace build.
And you want me to give you the Hand of Edward the Odd, because no one else is going to use it.
If you think that I should be given the Hand of Edward the Odd from the guild bank, because we can't sell it anyway, and it's like 5 DPS more than what I've got, then email themurloc@gmail.com with the word Total Biscuit in the subject title.
And if you think that Ariana should in fact DE the Hand of Edward the Odd and do it in front of Total Biscuit while frapsing the whole thing in front page it on WCRadio.com, do the exact same thing, but, basically slander Total Biscuit.
Right. That's really not very nice.
I'm not a nice person.
Yes. Now, you had 3 Grand Marshals, confirmed, didn't I?
Confirm.
Yes.
They're all classic, though.
So you should know a little bit about PvP.
I know a little bit about PvP, but keep in mind that this was back in Classic, before TBC, and before being online all day was basically the way that you got your Grand Marshal.
Yes, quite. Well, I would like to know, was there ever a point, certainly in Classic WoW, where some of your abilities were changed, which made you less or more effective in PvP, but it wasn't intended to do that? It was actually intended, say, to nerf or buff somebody in PvE raid content.
What do you mean? Something that was, like, inadvertently a buff in PvP?
Yes.
Ooh. That's a good question, actually. I don't really know. I'll have to think about that one for a moment.
Indeed. Well, the interesting thing about the new patch and the changes that they made there... For instance, let me talk about the mage change, for instance. They changed the way arcane power works. Their aim was to eliminate the burst damage capability, or at least reduce the burst damage capability of an arcane mage in an arena.
PoM Pyro is dead.
It is. And rightfully so. I never liked it anyway. No, PoM Pyro was a terrible build.
It was not.
Let me put it this way. PoM Pyro got mages nerfed so badly in Classic. And this is actually a really good example. Back in the day, PoM Pyro got nerfed, yeah? And Arcane Power got nerfed, and stuff like that. It got nerfed, and a couple of other things got nerfed as well, and indirectly it ended up nerfing us in PvE. Yeah? And that sucked. There were a lot of mage changes back then that were supposed to balance us in PvP and then ended up ruining us in raids.
Yeah, no, I remember something like that with that Devouring Plague, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that got nerfed in the ground, didn't it?
It did for a bit, and then they brought it back.
Yeah, that was actually quite an important part of your PvE damage rotation, yeah?
Not mine, Undead Priests.
Well, of course, yeah, but Undead Priests. Interesting. Now, what they've done this time is they've made a bunch of changes, and the idea is not to break PvE. So they changed Arcane Power. Arcane Power used to be like 30% extra damage and 30% extra mana, right? So primarily a PvP ability, but had some use in PvE, because you could pop it with Icy Veins, and Heroism, / Bloodlust, and Trinkets if you got them, and everything like that. For Uber Burst damage. Which it is useful in PvE, don't get me wrong, not as useful as in PvP, but it's still good. Now, they changed AP. Instead of now being a 3-minute cooldown, it's a 1-minute cooldown, but it's only 10% damage increase. And 10% mana increase. Which is, of course, less mana drain for an arcane raiding mage is important. No question about that. They also changed it so that PoM, Presence of Mind, and Arcane Power have clashing cooldowns, meaning that you can't just activate them both instantly. Which is kind of inconvenient for raiding mages, because PoM gives you the ability to have extra crit chance on the cast after PoM is enabled. Does help, but again, not really a big deal, but is a major deal for killing off the burst damage in arenas. So PoM Pyro is dead because they share the cooldown, so you can't pop everything at once, and the burst damage has been reduced. And that's all well and good. And to compensate, what they did was they gave us a new glyph, a glyph of Arcane Missiles, which increases the critical damage bonus of Arcane Missiles by 25%. Which is pretty hot. Admittedly, Arcane Missiles isn't the primary part of the rotation for Arcane Raiding Mages, but it's certainly part of it. Now here's the problem. They also, in the last minute change, nerfed Arcane Barrage. Now the rationale, of course, less burst damage, so they nerfed the coefficient. What does that mean? That's actually a part of the rotation. They may not have noticed this, but yes, Arcane Barrage is part of the raiding rotation. What does that mean? Well, that means that we do less damage in our rotation now, which makes Arcane a significantly less useful build, and again, arguably relegates Arcane back down to its status of not being very good, which has been, the past 4 years of Arcane mages in general.
I don't know, in the TBC and Tier 6 gear was pretty good for Arcane mages.
Yeah, it was, but the only reason for that was the retardedly good 20% extra damage on Arcane Blast Tier 5 set bonus.
It was a Tier 5.
Yeah, the Tier 5, 2-piece Tier 5 set bonus. The thing is, with Sunwell, you could take, 4-piece...
Mix and match.
Well, you get 4-piece Tier 6, as well as 2-piece Tier 5. Which is pretty cool. But yeah, it was relatively effective. Admittedly, Elitist Jerks made some argument regarding, I think it was, I can't remember what the build was back in the day, but it was a primary fire with a little bit of Arcane and Icy Veins. That was the be-all, end-all build. Yes, you could raid Arcane, but it didn't always work so well. Now, the point here is not really to whine and complain. It's like, oh, they broke my spec. Whatever, I can respec. I don't care. If they break my spec, I'll spec a spec that actually works. I don't get particularly attached to specs. Although, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow is something I'm very attached to. Like, for example, back in the end of TBC, they decided to break my class and, you know, keep the mana regen away from the amount of actual spell damage bonus you actually had, and so I was no longer the world's best Shadow Priest ever.
Which is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. And now they're also doing some wicked changes that actually make Shadow Priest a little more viable in PvP. I guess in a way they're going to be useful in PvE as well. Now Shadow Form will give you some resistance from physical and magical, which is nice.
It's a PvP change, isn't it?
It is a PvP change, but I'm just saying it doesn't hurt us in PvE to have it.
Of course not.
And since Dispersion also now removes snare effects, that's kind of cool as well.
That could be helpful in future content.
It makes us more viable in PvP, but it doesn't break us in PvE, which is kind of what we're used to happening. Either they, you know, imbalance us in one way or imbalance us in the other way. And
yeah. So, to be honest, you can make the argument that Blizzard are doing a little bit better as regards to the balancing. I can forgive them for the Arcane Barrage change, because what were they going to do? I mean, really. They were trying to nerf the initial burst damage in Arena, which could completely imbalance the entire match, because you could basically insta one-shot somebody, which was not supposed to happen. That and the fact that resilience, even if you're capped out, isn't even all that useful in arenas at the moment, and people were just stacking their Nax 25 and Malagos gear just to do all that extra damage. So what could they do? Nothing, pretty much. They had to do that. So what they then tried to do, of course, was to give Arcane Missiles a little bit of a boost, to say, hey, you use this a bit more, but it's like, well, you can use this, I suppose. I don't see why not. The old rotation, the old way that Arcane used to work, is you'd get three times Arcane Blast, then Arcane Missiles, then a Scorch, yeah? And the reason for that, and indeed they actually changed it to Barrage, because of course you did get the Barrage ability pre-Wrath, because you got it on the 3.0 patch, as I recall. Anyway.
That's a patch.
Yeah. The rotation was designed so that you stacked the buffs up, got the extra damage from Arcane Missiles and everything, and then once you started casting again, you'd start casting, and this is how it used to work. Arcane Blast used to make Arcane Blast quicker, but cost more mana, so you could basically nuke it really hard. And you would start your 4th Arcane Blast cast when the debuff was about to wear off. So the debuff wore off while you were casting, so you get the extra spell haste bonus, but you wouldn't pay the extra mana cost, and that was how the rotation worked. Now, not so much. You don't have to do that, because Arcane Blast works in a completely different way. So I suppose you could take Barrage. You certainly wouldn't take Barrage out of the rotation. It's useful for extra damage. It's like you could throw Barrage and then Fire Blast in before you start restacking your Arcane Blast. So it's not so bad anymore, because they have changed the way the rotation works. But I do approve, mostly. I think, again, nerfing AB sucks, but I understand why they did it. I like the fact that they're trying to, instead of mucking about by saying, oh, well, people both PvP and PvE. It's like, well, some people do, yeah, but not everybody. And some of us really don't care about PvP balance. We care about raiding. And the only reason I've been PvPing is because I've been bored with raiding.
I'm very upset to find out that you are not, in fact, angry, Biscuit, this week.
I'm too tired.
You've been angry like the past 2 weeks, and then this week you're not angry.
That's your fault. You decided to get on a plane without telling me.
Oops.
Yes.
Well, I could have asked for a mage portal, but that'd be a bit difficult.
Wouldn't have worked out so well, would it?
No.
No, you'd have to get summoned. And you know those warlocks, they can't be trusted.
But they can be buffed.
Yeah.
Always.
Do you think that big black TV looks remarkably like a summoning stone?
It does. Should we put some horns on it?
I think that'll be awesome.
Excellent.
My name's Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Police here on WoW Radio. We've got the Illusion of Choice coming up after this particular music break, so you've got a couple of minutes to get your submissions in to the Murloc at
gmail.com.
Yes, indeed. I'll be right back after this, folks. My name is Total Biscuit.
My name is Ariana.
This is Blue Please on WCRadio.com.